Hello everyone, this is Camille with Mimi Journals, and today I wanted to talk to you about my 5-year Hobonichi. So for those of you who are subscribed to my channel and you saw my 2022 lineup, I briefly mentioned this guy, but I wanted to go more in depth with what's inside, what I'm doing with it, and then what just some ideas of what you could do with it if you're interested in this type of project. So essentially, this is one of the countless Hobonichi products that I have. It originally came with a brown leather cover like this, and then I bought this add-on of the red leather just because I prefer to have protection on all of my journals, and I thought that this was quite pretty. So mine starts in 2022, but I backdate things. So I'll show you what I mean by that. It's a personal preference. It's definitely not something that you have to do. Nothing that I show you here is something that you have to do, obviously. So at the beginning here, it just shows you the year at a glance, just for your own reference. And of course, it has all the years that are available in the book itself. And then it does not say the days of the week as like Monday, Tuesday. It just says them as the numbers, and it gives you a little slot here for each year. So January 1st of the next 5 years is all on one page, and then it has blank grid paper on the opposite side for you to do whatever you wish. So when I got this, I knew that I wanted to keep my ink color consistent, and I saw, after watching some other videos on YouTube, I saw one woman do a red ink with her red cover, and I just really liked that aesthetic, so I decided to go for that myself. Now, hopefully I can stick with it for 5 years, but obviously 5 years is a long time, so you never know for sure. As far as what I write, I try to batch write. So I don't write in here every day just because I don't want to put that kind of pressure on myself. So I'll usually sit down around once a week, or it really depends. It really depends on how my week's going, how often I sit down and I go back into it and I fill in. As far as what I write, I will kind of write whatever I think, whatever I want, to be honest, but it all relates to that day specifically. So usually there's a sentence or two that just kind of acknowledges the general outline of how that day went, and then the rest is kind of free for all. So sometimes I talk about just things that made me happy. Sometimes I write just straight up gratitude. Sometimes I write about my emotions. Sometimes I write about just things that I was glad happened, or things that someone said, or just whatever, right? Like, it really doesn't matter as long as it's relevant to that day, and it's kind of just a snapshot picture of my life at that day. Obviously, if there are big events that happened, I make sure to acknowledge that. Both big events, like, I don't know, it doesn't matter, like people's birthdays or whatever. Also big events, just like emotionally, like if I make big decisions, that kind of thing, I try to acknowledge those things. If it was a particularly hard day, I try to be honest about that. I don't necessarily go into detail about it because that's not something I necessarily want to remember, but I try to just be clear about what was true to that day. And sometimes I just write kind of like, I don't want to say nonsense, but like I kind of write things that I know aren't that big of a deal. Like, I just am all over the place, just because I find it interesting. Like, I think it'll be interesting to look back and be like, oh, that's the show I was watching, or that's the project I was doing, or that was like the thing that I was into then, because I just want like to have something where there's an understanding of kind of who I was, and not just a like fact of, on this day I went to this location, which like that stuff is important, but I have that information in other places, so I don't feel the need to really focus on just straight events and facts in that way. Like I just do a general acknowledgement, but I don't like waste all that space in that, if that makes sense. Like I'd rather have the paragraph be more of a expression of where my head was at and where my heart was at, and like what was like internally important to me, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's just a personal preference. And let's see. The other thing I did, like I said, was I backdated. So you haven't seen any of it yet, but on this side, if there was any events that I wanted to remember from previous years, I put the date and then I do like a little blurb. Usually I have a picture from those, so I will show that in a second. So yeah, this isn't much to look at, but I'm just kind of explaining like what I do with it. Now, you have so many options with what you could do with this, right? So you could use this as a gratitude journal. Like I use something else as a gratitude journal, but like honestly, imagine having 5 years of gratitude in one place. Like that would be so incredible. So that's always like a really good option. You could use this for like current events. Like if you're somebody who's really into the history and current events and politics and all that kind of stuff, you know, you can incorporate that into your summaries of your own life, or you could have one of these just for that specifically, like not related to your own life, but just related to like the condition of the world and what's going on and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that would be pretty fascinating, I'm sure. There's just so many things you can do with it. People will like collage in these. People will do like prayer stuff in it. So like just kind of any faith-based thing you can do in here. One of my aunts was interested in getting one of these, and she wanted to track the weather in here and track like that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, really the options are endless. Hobonichi is not the only company that makes these types of journals. 5-year journals are actually relatively common. I'm just picky and I like my Japanese stationery, so obviously I go that route. I know there's ones that are much smaller, there's ones that are much bigger, like there's ones that are just a line a day, right? Just like a single line. There's ones that like don't have the extra space on the side, right? Like you have a lot of options. So if this is something that you're interested in, I would encourage you to kind of do your research and basically figure out like what setup would suit like your preferences or your personality or whatever. And yeah, there are definitely people who do much more creative things with this than I do. This is very much like, I just want to track my life, and so that's what I'm doing in it kind of thing. And that's just my personal preference. I have other books or other journals in which I'm much more creative. So I don't really feel the need to be like hyper creative in this. It's more of like a documenting platform for me. Obviously, sometimes I get behind in my backdating, so you'll see that here. I have to go and backfill some of these dates still. I kind of fell behind, and that's okay because I have a lot of other ways that I journal that I can reference to kind of help me get that snapshot correct. So I will flip through here and try to find, so most of the time when I'm backdating stuff, it's stuff that is my life specific, but obviously we have been surviving a pandemic. So just general pandemic information is something I have put in here or started to put in here. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot to say about that, but I will try to find, so I use this super thin, like washi tape thin, semi-translucent sticker paper to put pictures in here, and here's why. This book is a minimum of 365 pages, right? And it's more than that, I'm sure. And the spine is, I don't want to say it's weak, but it's definitely not designed to really take a beating. So what I mean by that is this is already so bulky on its own, and the second you start pasting stuff into it, it's gonna like explode. And so a lot of other people who I've seen online who use these, they just like embrace that and they break the spine and then some, and the thing just kind of looks like an accordion that like rounds around itself because the book just gets so fat so fast. And then they love it, and that's great. That's just personally not for me. I want it to be able to still look like a book and not like a huge fan thing that's like out of control. So that's just a personal preference. So I am being very, very particular about what I paste in here. And so I literally hunted for a very specific type of sticker paper that would allow me to put images in here without fattening up the book. So there's actually close to, I would say 20 images at least in here already, and you cannot tell. And I did that for a reason. I am also somebody who celebrates their baptism, just because it was a very important day for me, so I consider it my baptism birthday. So I celebrate that every year since getting baptized, and it was only a couple of days before my regular birthday, so I basically, like, that week to me is kind of like a birthday week, which is fun. So there should be a picture coming up then, because that, yep, here we go. So that recent weekend last year was when I had my birthday party. So this is what I mean. I try to, anything I paste in here, I use a very specific type of sticker paper so that it's as thin as possible. And then I just do exactly what I would have done over here, but usually much more minimal. Like it's just like a sentence or two. But yeah, so I have a whole bunch of these in here, and they are extremely cute, and I love them to death. And I cannot wait to continue to add photos as the years go on in that way. Sorry, I really have to dig for where they're at because they don't make the book fatter, so I can't like find them naturally. What I think I'm gonna do too, which I kind of just decided this right now, but that's totally fine, is if I start adding pictures of these current years, I'm just gonna collage them over here. I'm not going to try to make them fit in this because these pages for me personally, the way I'm using it, are primarily blank right now. So like I said, there's some backdating up on the top, but it takes up very little space and definitely does not take up the whole page. So I have a lot of space over here that I don't do anything with. And so I think just collaging pictures from these years would be a good use of that space. So there's another one, my friend's birthday. We went to a beach house. That was extremely fun. So yeah, so like a lot of the backdating that I did is just like big events like trips, and like celebrations and that kind of thing. Or, you know, maybe it was just a super fun weekend and I wanted to remember it. This is the oldest backdate I have in here. Most of my backdates don't go back past 2020. But one of my closest friends moved away in 2018 and I decided to put that in here. That is a picture that I took at my cousin's wedding. That was just a super fun weekend where I ran around with a bunch of my friends. Yeah, just, I mean, you get the point. I don't really like need to find them all, but that was when we did our own fireworks at Hidden Beach. That was so much fun. I am definitely a fan of doing personal fireworks over going to a fireworks show, but that's just me. Had a really fun weekend running around with a friend, Tacoma. Then I tried to get my friends to do this like soda explosion thing with me that I had done like a ton of research on, and it's just flat lies. Which was not a pun that was intended, but actually relevant to that experiment. And fun weekend in Tacoma again with different friends. Let's see. yeah, I mean, I could do this like a lot and I should probably stop, but let's see. Is there anything else to say about this? This is honestly a treasured possession for me. Like, I did not realize, I mean, this sounds like ridiculous, but it's just, you never, at least for me, I never realize how fast life changes until I am like looking at something in which I'm recording my life and I'm like, dear Lord, like life is so different. And like this wasn't that long ago and now everything's different. It's just crazy. Like for example, so this thing is gonna be 5 years worth of my life is gonna be in here. For example, when I started this book, I had a different job. I had a different situation with my health. I had like people who are important to me lived here that don't live here anymore. Like so many things have changed. So many things have changed. And it's just like crazy. And that's like the year has barely started and all of these changes have happened. Like I'm going a completely different direction in my life. And that's going to be documented in here, which is insane. And like I'm about to go on a New York trip, which is going to be extremely exciting. And hopefully you guys will hear about that later through other journaling videos. And so I'm about to go to New York for a week with some friends. And so I'm sure you'll see, I actually bought a journal for that trip specifically. So I'm sure I will show that to you guys and talk to you guys about that whole process and stuff. That's me with my little sister. And yeah, it's just like, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. Life changes so much, so fast. And like, it's just so precious. Like every good experience, every good day is so meaningful and so important and so precious that I love doing projects like this, because to me it's a way of honoring how much of a gift life is and how much like the Lord has given me and provided for me. And it's just really like, it's just really important to me. Plus, like, I just really treasure the time that I spend with people. Like, I am a very people, like, centered person. And, like, quality time is one of my primary love languages. And so, like, having a place where I document all of the good times that I've had with people, super important to me. And like, you know, one of my closest friends, he lives far away now. He lives in Texas. And so like he'll check in on me and vice versa, and we'll have like really great conversations and stuff. And I love that I have somewhere to like remember that happened, and that like I am able to keep up with my loved ones who are far away. That's super important to me, both that connection and that like effort to maintain that stuff, but also to like document like the significance of that stuff. I'm just rambling so much right now. I apologize. But yeah, so point is, documenting your life can be pretty awesome. And a 5-year Hobonichi or just a 5-year journal in general, doesn't have to be this brand, is a really awesome way of doing that. Like I cannot wait to see where the Lord takes me, like just this year, let alone in 5 years. Like I can't even imagine the amount of change and the amount of like life that's going to be lived in 5 years. It's a long time. Like things are so different, even from month 1 to month 3. Like it's nuts, absolutely nuts. So you'll probably hear more about my just general life changes in future videos, just because it's going to be relevant to like the journaling and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. I most likely going back to school, which, you know, we'll see how that goes. We'll see if that happens, and we'll see how it goes. But if that happens, like, that'll probably be, like, this is very much like a writing-centered YouTube channel. So you'll probably see me like, oh, this is a new note-taking thing that I'm doing, and like all that kind of stuff. So who knows? Maybe this will, part of this journal, planner, writing, all that goodness channel might even include like study notes, like actual school study notes, not just like things I'm nerdy about study notes, because I'm sure that'll be on here too. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Thank you for being here to support me, and I hope that this was inspiring, and I hope that this gave you some good ideas for just different things that you can do in your life and for yourself. And yeah, all right. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you'll hear from me again soon. Take care.